Martina turned off the broadcast, closed her laptop and exhaled with relief, leaning back in her chair. She had been running her own channel and vlog for 2 years now. And, to her surprise, quite successfully. Over time, this hobby of hers even began to bring her a pretty good income. But there was little truth in her words. More precisely, she was, of course, but Martina did not check it on herself. Martina found interesting articles about relationships, embellished them and presented them as if she herself had a perfect and happy relationship. However, no, she genuinely loved her husband, but he wasn't perfect. Not even once. And rude, and at work late, and a lot of things could, but Martina tolerated, hoping for advice from the forum. Once thought about divorce, but what kind of blogger of happiness is she if she divorces? Only show everyone what a loser she is. That's silly. Of course, well, what to do? Especially since she's about to have a baby. She's not gonna leave the baby without a father. She was mocking the camera again. Aren't you sick of it? It's disgusting to watch. Other women cook porridge, soup, clean the house, make their husbands happy, and you. And I earn money. Or have you forgotten what we live on? With you, you'll forget. Every day you reproach me with money. That's a lie, nobody reproached you. How could I? You better tell me, are we going to eat today or not? Did you go to the store? I asked you to do it this morning. You go, you go. It's like I have nothing else to do. What's there to eat? Henry turned and walked out of the room, listening to the sound of the TV. So I guess I'll just have to go myself. Again. She and her husband had always been like this. Henry was a hopeful young man, had a prestigious job, a good income, bought them an apartment, a car. And then the company he worked for changed ownership, and everyone was downsized. Henry got laid off, and after that, he got really bad. He became sullen, drunk, rude, didn't want to work, and his relationship with his wife deteriorated. But Vera did not lose hope. She tried to support her husband, to inspire him. She started her blog in the hope of earning money, and it worked. If not for that, they probably died of hunger. To be honest, the woman did not plan to have a child. She dreamed, of course, to give birth, to nurse, to bring up, but she realized that it was not the time. And it turned out so that, as soon as she found out that she was pregnant, she was upset at first. And then reconciled, accepted the fact that now a mom, and even looked forward to the birth of a son. She had already put the crib in her room, but Henry refused to help. Martine didn't know how to call a handyman. And how could she call a craftsman when there was so much to buy for the child? Every dime counted. So she had to assemble the crib herself with great difficulty. Stroller she bought from other people, beautiful, almost new, fashionable and inexpensive, also went and picked up herself. In general, almost everything was ready for the arrival of the baby, except for the father. He more and more often pushed Martin to think whether she needed such a husband, and her child a father. Love alone would not be enough, and the couple had not been in love for a long time. It was a one-sided love. Martine cursed everything as she walked down from the 5th floor. The elevator should have been fixed last week, but it was still broken. She could still go downstairs with her pregnancy, but it was very difficult for her to get back up so high with bags from the store. You're a terrible husband, Henry. I need your help so badly. I'm doing this for you, my husband. Why? Ungrateful. With these sad thoughts in her head, she walked to the supermarket. Spent an hour, the cart is almost filled to the top with food, but to carry home bags of food does not know. She had to take a cab. She called her husband at the entrance and waited a long time for him to answer. What is it again? And I'm happy to hear from you, darling. I'd be even happier if you'd come down and help me with the bags. Martine, leave me alone with your requests. You bought it yourself, you pick it up yourself. And he ended the conversation. We had to lift the bags with stops on every flight of stairs. But during this time, Martine decided something for herself. She was finally tired of her husband's attitude. Why would she want a husband who exists for furniture? After my son is born, I'll file for divorce, and no other way. The TV was running loudly, she couldn't hear her own voice. Martina tried to shout to Henry, but after several failed attempts, she freaked out and just pulled the plug out of the socket. Dash, what did you do? Something I've been wanting to do for a long time. If you don't want to help, you don't have to. But I pay for the lights in this house, so. She shrugged her shoulders meaningfully and retired to her room. The hard climb up the stairs made the aching back ache in my stomach. I wanted to lie down and just relax. I couldn't relax. Henry came running into the room, yelling something about how the apartment was his, he was the boss, and it was up to him to decide what to do. Did you just tell me everything you wanted to tell me? Now you listen to me. You don't do anything. You don't work, you don't cook, you don't do laundry, you don't clean, you don't go to the store, you don't pay your bills. And I'm sick of it, okay? I'm sick of being a servant to my husband. After the birth. Wait, Martine, either change your life or we're getting a divorce. Martina wanted to say a lot more, but then a sharp pulling pain shot through her stomach, from which she groaned in pain. What's up? Call an ambulance. The child's labor was long and exhausting. Martina thought it wasn't like that at all. Somehow she thought the internet forums were exaggerating and she wouldn't scream and cry. And she did scream and cry. She thought she'd lose her mind. But everything ends sooner or later anyway. And so the delivery room was announced by the loud cry of a child, and relief came. Already in the room, Martina admired her son and could not believe that here he was, in her arms, the most real, that she could create such a miracle. She picked up his little fingers in her hand. And listened to his quiet breathing. Then she remembered her husband, took out her phone and took a few pictures, sent her husband a message. Congratulations, you have a son. She finalized the height and weight and hit send. There was no reply. He's probably angry, so be it. I don't even want to think about him. He'll change his mind and call me himself. It's all about patience. But Henry didn't show up on the first, second, or third day. Martin and his son were detained at the hospital. The baby was sick. Martine thought he'd call to ask what was wrong, but there was no message or call. She even sent him a message with the date and time of discharge, so he wouldn't forget, or he'd be ashamed. But he never replied. Martina stood with her son in her arms at the window and watched some woman being taken away from the maternity hospital. A whole crowd had come. All with flowers, balloons, the car decorated, laughing, kissing. And she's getting discharged tomorrow, and not a word from Henry. Panic set in. Martine called, but the phone was disconnected. She got up early in the morning, cleaned herself up, dressed her son. The doctor came by, said she could go home. All she had to do was wait for Henry. She waited. It was past lunchtime and he was still gone. The nurse came by, asking when the room would be ready. The doctor, too. And she had nothing to say. Tears rolled down her face in despair. But he could at least come for his son. And Martina became so bitter that she grabbed the phone and posted the whole truth about herself. About lying. About what her husband and family life, how he abandoned her in the hospital, how he did not help, that there is no happiness in her life. The comments came flooding in, but she didn't read them. She knew that nothing good was written there, only nasty things. And she felt bad enough as it was. She sat for a while, then fed her son, changed his diaper and started packing. Now she's going home to get her and her son's things, and then she'll go to her house. In her apartment, of course, there is no repair, and there is not much space there, just one room, but it will be enough for her and her son. When she had finished packing, Martina thanked the staff and went out into the hospital lobby. She came out and froze. 10 people, no less, stood with flowers and balloons, all looking at her. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll be right out." Martine thought it was someone meeting someone. She didn't want to interrupt. And it turns out all these people were following her blog. Her followers came and congratulated her on the birth of her baby. Martina divorced her husband and they lived happily together with their son. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next videos. Subscribe to our channel. All the best to you.